All right, so this is the Flat Hammer team. I'm Frank Huang from Deutsche Telekom. What we did for the Flat Hammer project is basically provide end-to-end service orchestration for enterprise customers across multiple different segments. So traditional telcos, cloud providers, and some of the newcomers into this area, the co-location service provider, but with some new services, additional enhanced services. And everything is done through APIs, right? Okay, here are the teams. I'm Frank Huang from Deutsche Telekom. And for those of you who is not very familiar with Deutsche Telekom, we are the incumbent provider in Germany and one of the largest one in Europe. And also, we are the majority owner of a company called T-Mobile, and who happens to be, last time I checked, is the most valuable telecom companies in the world. Okay, so here is Michael Kern.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Michael Kearns from Amartis.
Right.
We're the provider of the orchestration, inter-party orchestration piece in this Flat Hammer Accelerator. Thank you.
And here's Richard from Equinix.
I'm Richard Carrera. I'm a Senior Principal Solutions Architect with Equinix, and we're one of the transport providers as part of this solution.
Okay. All right, so what problem are we trying to solve, right? So basically, Deutsche Telekom as a global company, we have our customers, enterprise customers, globally everywhere. So we don't know where their needs are. We wanted to serve all of them. So, but you know, nobody has global footprint everywhere, right? So there is no place like a single provider the customer can go to say, I want to connect connectivity from A to Z everywhere. So that's the problem, number one problem. Second problem is how do you serve the customer with a single user interface or portal to be able to, you know, automate the service ordering, service activation, and management of the live network. So that's the issue, I believe, facing all the service providers. So what we're trying to do here is, actually, I'm going to let our VP of wholesale, he's a VP of wholesale within DT, and let him to talk about the problem that we're trying to solve.
In today's world, customers are looking for a one-stop shop partner who can provide global connectivity across the world. This provider has to integrate telco, cloud, co-location, and other services for these customers. In order to facilitate automation and digitization, global standards and automation frameworks together with APIs are key. Here, MEF-LSO is a very good starting point that provides the right environment for an implementation of an end-to-end automation. Our showcase demonstrates the capabilities across telco and cloud providers and creates an automated delivery of services across different business processes using various APIs. With this, we are illustrating the future production model of global connectivity. Together with our partners Amartis, Inmanta, and Equinix, we successfully showcased our solution. Please join us to broaden actually the scope here and include you in the showcase as well.
All right, so two takeaway points from this 1-minute video is one-stop shop and automation. Right? So what we're trying to do here is, you know, the key is to be able to offer services everywhere. So we're trying to extend our network footprint across globally. You know, nobody has all this time and financial means to build out a physical network by a single provider. So we have to partner with someone else, right? And what we did here is go a little bit beyond traditional partnership. So traditionally, a telco will partner with another telco to offer end-to-end services. But over here, we actually go a little bit beyond. So we talk to the cloud providers, talk to the co-location providers who has actually also go a little bit beyond their traditional services, provide some sort of like a global connectivity as well. And also, one of the key deliveries of this project is to offer some sort of like a self-service portal, right? So very similar to the analogy of when you go buy a airline ticket from A to B, for example, you want to fly from Bonn to Melbourne, and you're not going to talk to, well, in the past you can call each airline and book tickets within Germany for the international one, and then within Australia. Nobody does that right now. So you go to most likely to Expedia. Say, I want to go from Bonn to Melbourne. And Expedia gonna actually take your request and look through the inventories and look at all the routes and provide you with a list of options, pricing, the total flight time, connections, things like that. And then you're gonna just say, okay, based on my requirement, this is what I need, and you pick and choose that one, and then the booking goes through, right? So we are pretty much do the exact same way, right, in here. Okay, so I think we pretty much covered that. The first point over here is go beyond traditional telcos. So, with the hyperscalers, cloud providers, they actually now have pretty good network globally, and that's a very good potential partner for us. We think we should add them to the telco ecosystems. And also we'll talk about the customer experience, the automation, so the cloud-like experience, this interactive, manual-driven, kind of like a real-time experience for the customer is very critical, right? And also be able to exactly match the customer, for the customer just tell us what they need is sort of like an intent-based, right? And then we're gonna take that and actually be able to negotiate on the back end, negotiate with the providers, and also automatically activate the services. Right. So here is a high level, I would say, architecture. If you look at the bottom, so in this case, the customer, they have a headquarters in Bonn, and they have a branch office in Australia, in Melbourne. And, and the way, right, we decompose this request is, well, this is DT, so in Germany, we only talk to Deutsche Telekom. And then, but however, going beyond Germany, we have multiple ways. So we can use the cloud network. In this way, we actually, in this case, we talk to AWS. So there is a way to using AWS network, or we can use Equinix and hand off the traffic to Equinix, and they have a very nice layer 2 fabric. We can connect us from Germany all the way to Sydney, right? Once you land it in Australia, and then there are a few local access providers, we can actually negotiate and negotiate the service, find out what's available. So here, if you look at the top, the customer make a request through MEF interface, Cantata interface, and in the middle is enterprise provider here. Actually, it's a little misleading over there, says Amatas. I think it should be, say, powered by Amatas over there. This entity actually is the, in this case, is DT's. We have a business unit called Enterprise B2B Business Unit. And that's the portal facing the customer. We receive a request, does the decomposition orchestration, right? And figure out which partners we need to talk to. And then, you know, on the access side for Germany, we talk to this DT Germany. That's one of the local business unit, actually the largest one within DT Group. So we talk to them to handle all the access circuits in Germany. And then, you know, we figure out, okay, for the long haul, there's Equinix, and also there's cloud provider. In this case, we pick AWS. And Equinix has a very nice API for us to use, fully automated. They support Terraform and the RESTful API. So that's, we can directly use those for automation. And Manta is helped us in this project to provide orchestration feature for AWS. And then at the bottom there, the local access provider in Australia, we use MEF, Sonata interface to negotiate address validation, pricing, quote, and ordering. It's done using Amata's software.
Actually, and Frank, we're actually using Sonata for each of those providers, including AWS and Equinix, just so we can have a standardized way of dealing with them. But what happens is we translate that to the underlying APIs of Equinix and AWS, which is abstracted by the Manta orchestrator for in AWS case. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Good to know. A little bit of background, I'm actually filled in for someone else who cannot make it to here.
You're doing a great job.
All right. Okay, so in here, it's just it's the customer journey, basically reflects what I just described. Right? At the top, the customer make a request to Deutsche Telekom. We decompose and then decompose the request and look through our internal database for the availability of different segments for this whole request. And we actually have some pricing information, sort of like indicative, not the accurate, based on the past information we have, because we feel even though we don't have the accurate pricing information, but it's still good for the customer to know, for them to actually using this as a filter or criteria to make their final request. So provide that information back to the customer. Customer look at all these options and pick the one they like. So they say, okay, I like this choice, these options, and then send it to us. And from that point on, we actually getting the exact pricing information, delivery time frame, and send that information back to the customer. Customer choose the option, and then actually we take that order and activate everything. And over here, the activation is fully API based. Even for the DT part, the DT part is let me just go back here. At the top is a fully automated network. Over there, all API based using NetConf model. Yep. Okay, so and then I think it's the video. We have a live demo actually in the information. What's that? Innovation station.
Yeah, at the Amartis Innovation Stand, you can see this as well,
and
we can show you the live demo. We're going to show the video here. Yeah.
Hello everybody, my name is Burkhard Alfort. I'm with Deutsche Telekom working in group technology. And today I've got the pleasure to introduce you to what we have been implementing with our partners at Amatos, Manta and Equinix on how global connectivity services can be produced in future. We are going to demonstrate how we can produce a layer 2 connectivity from Berlin to Melbourne as requested by our customer. Okay, without further ado, let's start the customer journey. It all starts with the enterprise customer defining his connectivity needs. To do so, the enterprise customer logs into the DT portal. There he finds all the data from previous projects and creates a new one. Let's call it Flathammer. So far, the project is empty, but of course the portal contains all the data that he has been providing in previous projects. The customer creates a new purchase that will contain all the items that he wants to be processed within the next order. Let's assume the customer wants to connect a site on a new address. He knows it's not in the database yet, hence he creates it to make use of it in the further process. The customer provides the address of the first site, which is in Berlin. He fills in all required data and submits it. It's checked to be valid and pushed into the databases. From now on, he can make use of it to define services. He also provides the address of the second site in Melbourne, goes to the overview site and can see both sites on the map. Now he is defining the characteristics of the service he is looking for. He wants a layer 2 connection. He wants a bandwidth above 500 megabit. And he wants a certain availability to be guaranteed. Finally, the customer creates the link between both sites in Berlin and Melbourne. Now the service definition is complete and the customer sends it to the enterprise B2B provider. The orchestrator takes that request and decomposes it into an access in Germany, a WAN connectivity and an access in Australia. From all the data available in the BSS systems, the orchestrator calculates all the possible options on how to build the end-to-end path from different sources. Let's have a look at the portal available to the enterprise B2B provider. To make it easy to distinguish it from the customer portal, we gave it a black background. As we can see on the overview screen, the orchestrator came up with 24 options on how to build the service. For each of the options, we see the bandwidth, the availability guaranteed, and the partners we're sourcing service components from. Based on this data and further business considerations, we can decide on which partners to go into negotiation with. To find out which of the options we can forward to the customer, we first have to check their feasibility. We first check with non-telco providers whether the POPs and resources needed are available. We use their proprietary APIs and the orchestrators translate between the APIs and processes where they don't match yet. The next step is to identify the partners that could provide the access in Australia. To find the best partner, we make use of Sonata. We go through address validation, POQ, and we ask for a budgetary quote, which probably can be provided by our partners quickly from price books. These budgetary quotes from our partners are essential because the customer will not be able to choose any of the options without an indicative price. Now we send the remaining options to the customer. The enterprise customer can review all options in detail and selects the ones he wants to have a firm quote for. When the orchestrator receives the request, he sends in turn requests for firm quotes to all partners that are part of at least one of the options. From the responses, the orchestrator calculates firm prices for each of the options and sends the list to the customer. A premium option is added to the list, complementing the WAN connectivity with a link provided by a second non-telco provider. The enterprise customer reviews all the options, including the firm prices, and finally selects the premium option. The premium service includes access from Deutsche Telekom in Germany, WAN connectivity being provided by Equinix, an additional WAN link being sourced from another non-telco, and access from Koala Networks in Australia. Receiving the order from the enterprise customer, the orchestrator sends Sonata orders to the telco partners and configures the non-telco partners via their respective APIs. A lot is going on under the hood, and we can see how activation is progressing. The Amatus orchestrator is setting up both accesses in Germany and Australia and makes use of the Enmanta orchestrator to configure the WAN connectivities. The Enmanta orchestrator takes those requests, translates the APIs and configures the WAN connectivities. And the Equinix platform is configuring all the hops between the Equinix POPs in Germany and Australia. Now the customer can make use of his layer 2 connectivity, and the first thing he does is he visits the server in Berlin and tests whether he can reach the server in Melbourne. Fortunately, it works.
All right, so that's the demo. Do we have another
So I think we were
slide?
going to invite. Oh yeah, there is one slide now just to put on after the video, and then Daniel can come up, I think. So in terms of the value proposition for the different stakeholders in the supply chain, you've got the enterprise customer who gets this cloud-like experience, simplified using natural language. Okay, it also you can use a very formatted filter. You get the operational efficiency for the end customer. They can do self-service, so they're not having to call their people to make changes, which we heard today how very important that is for moving towards NAS in the future, or even really automating around having an automated managed service offering. If it's not necessarily taking on the commercial model of NAS, you could still go really far with this stuff. For the enterprise B2B provider, it's new revenue streams from global offerings. That's obvious. I can now extend my network using different partners across the globe. I can make better margins because I can maybe have more choices and stuff like that as well. So it's a lot of, you can add in as many transit providers, last mile providers as you need. Operational efficiency as well. You saw the automation. It's really sort of harnessing that whole end-to-end story from the specifying the network at a very high level right down to how you drive it down to an actual ordering process. It's a very low-cost way to extend and scale from one to many. So this is the important part, really, because you might only have a few customers in Melbourne. Are you going to build a POP in Melbourne? Are you going to build even a virtual POP? There are different stages, but actually you can do this very easily, have a network extension using a third-party provider without the cost. And over time, if you get more customers, you can enhance that with virtual POPs and things like that. And then on the partner provider, obviously, they're able to sell more services. They're meeting the customer demand. So this is the downstream partner, the last mile, or the transit partner. It's huge operational efficiency also for them through automation. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Any questions from the audience in the last couple of minutes? No? So I'm going to ask, oh, here we go.
How are you getting the device into the customer?
Hold on.
Did you pre-populate the device in the customer side before you do this sort of portal provisioning? Or using some of the different means to connect the customer?
Do we pre-populate? So it's all based on having a catalog of suppliers, which we then do the matching of the customer request to the supplier end-to-end connectivity options.
I'm talking about the last mile connectivity from customer headquarters. You go to Deutsche Telekom, obviously high-end. How do you connect there? I mean, do you pre-build that already? That you're putting some devices in customer side? I mean, how do you build that one? You needed connectivity now coming from Deutsche Telekom high-end to end, right? You need to go customer side. Do you build a fiber there? And what do you do?
You have registered suppliers in the access which are ordering standard offerings that you've already agreed. You're not just doing it on the fly. You are using Sonata APIs to basically automate something that's already in place in an MSA. But today you could have that MSA with that supplier in that country, but you still have to go and pick up the phone or send them an email. Now it's all like, okay, I can pass that request down and go through the whole Sonata sequence for that. Is that?
And then in this use case, that wasn't on that location for Deutsche Telekom. So I mean, it's their portal, they're on that. If they were not on that, potentially it could be just like the access providers on the right side you saw. They could have another access provider on the left. But for this particular situation, it was on that location for Deutsche Telekom.
So basically, you can do that through API, right? All you need to do is A site and Z site, and then.
I understand. I guess the whole thing probably taken more than 5 minutes, right? If you order those through a catalog and some local guy going to build that, like that, sometimes how they take.
So the answer to that is
a few months, right?
It will take as long as we're not.
Right.
We can't speed up. It's as long as the guys
physical.
you're asking for. So we did show something very fast here, but we're more about automating the process, and if they can speed up the delivery and all of that, that's totally based on the providers you're working with. So if they have an on-demand access or something, then you can use. You can have it straight away. But the problem we're trying to overcome is like you try to do this today, and it's very, very complex because it requires a lot of back and forward with people, basically. So we can eliminate the people and use them better for different tasks.
Just the last minute, 2 questions from me and one. What are the next steps of Flathammer, and what new stakeholders would you like to participate in the Flathammer Accelerator?
Okay. So we've expanded our capability to operational APIs. So this is really important. Now we put the order in, trouble ticketing, performance management, usage, all of those APIs that you would need, service configuration changes and things like that. That will be certainly a candidate for us going forward. Of course, we are discussing it as a team. And then the second answer to your question is we'd like to introduce maybe more providers, non-telco providers in a way, to show a wider variety as members. We'd also like to introduce some enterprise on the other side to really harness the needs of the enterprise. The reaction already has been very good for the people we've demonstrated for, including to enterprise customers who really see that if this was available to them, it would be taking away a headache. That's what I think.
Thank you very much indeed to the Flathammer team.